If you're watching this as part of a series, we've just talked about why you might adopt an ERP system in your manufacturing house to save time and money. Now we're going to follow through the manufacturing process, and what do you need to do first? You need to win work, so you need to start quoting customers for jobs. So we're going to find out how MIE Trak Pro helps make quoting easier. If you're a manufacturer, then quoting is something you probably do every day. But have you thought about the way you quote, whether the process could be improved at all? I mean, I'm here with Tom. We're going to be talking about enterprise resource planning software, and specifically about using that to quote efficiently and accurately. But let's back up a little bit. How do manufacturers normally kind of traditionally quote for parts? So
we often find that most customers of ours tend to have previously quoted through things such as Excel spreadsheets, which in itself can prove to be quite time consuming and quite inefficient. And a lot of the time it also then has to be managed by someone who has several years experience both in production but also in the estimating process.
And would they also be kind of a senior engineer that would normally be kind of on the shop floor running production?
Yeah, generally speaking they would. And again, tying them up producing estimates when potentially their time may be better spent elsewhere in terms of, improving optimisation throughout the business is definitely sort of a key consideration.
And how does MIE Trak Pro improve quoting and bring the process into the 21st century?
Well, there are several means of being able to improve the accuracy, the efficiency, and also being able to get as many other people involved in the quoting process as the company needs, i.e. not relying on people, as we mentioned previously, who have many years experience elsewhere, who probably could be better suited to doing other roles.
And how could you, but the person, as we've discussed, who's going to be doing that quoting normally is a senior engineer. They kind of might be 35, 40 years old, maybe a bit older, have lots of experience in the industry. How can you really replace them and their experience with a piece of software?
So within MIE Trak, we do have the ability during the quoting process to integrate customised formulas. So examples that may be relevant are things like putting in feed rates for machining centres, or even machines that profile cut parts, i.e. laser cutting machines and plasma machines. And really the benefit of doing so is that it takes that knowledge out of the experienced people's heads and actually essentially puts it into the system, so that in theory, as long as someone can read a drawing, they should be able to go in, produce a quote, and essentially answer the questions that appear on screen.
That's amazing. I've never heard of a software system like this that incorporates that quite specific kind of domain knowledge from laser cutting, from CNC machining. Are there any other industry-specific kind of examples you can give of how the software helps manufacturers specifically?
Absolutely. So when it comes to the material side of things, whether that is lengths of material, i.e. billets, or whether that's sheets of material, i.e. mild steel CR4, we actually within MIE Trak have the ability to calculate how many parts you can cut out of a length or how many parts you can get out of a sheet, and that can take into account things such as the thickness of the saw, for the companies that deal with sheet, any trims that they may have around the edge of the machine, to essentially quite quickly and accurately calculate a material utilisation from the system.
Which is, I guess, those are the kinds of things that your experienced engineer would be doing. So you can easily capture those can be quite complex activities and let people do them who are maybe less versed in that specific skill.
Yeah, absolutely. Take that away from them and essentially put all the logic in the system, or at least as much of it as you can.
But one thing that people love about Excel, and that's why Excel will never die, is the flexibility. Is you can just stick in columns, headers, fields, and if someone wants to knock up a really quick quote, you might find that they sometimes might go back to Excel. How does MIE Trak Pro make it easy to do kind of a ballpark estimate of a quote?
You can do either or. I mean, we do often find that quoting is very much situation and customer dependent, and so no doubt there will be certain quotes that are produced whereby you would want to break down all the operations, all the bill of materials, because you're fairly confident in winning the work. Whereas there may be other scenarios where you receive an inquiry, take one look at it and think, I'm not really sure I'm actually going to win this work. Therefore, you might not necessarily want to put the time and effort into the quote. So you can produce ballpark quotes, you can produce detailed quotes, regardless of which route you go down during the estimating process. Should you win the order for that work, you can always put the detail in at a later stage before the job is then handed to production.
Okay, fair enough. But people, let's say when someone takes on a big software system like MIE Trak Pro, and you want to start quoting, to get a quote out the door, you need to have kind of customer number, customer contact details. You need to have a part number they're going to make. You need to have kind of breakdowns of bill of materials. There's a lot of data that will already be in a company in some form, and how do you get that into MIE Trak Pro as easy as possible so they can get quoting straight away?
Absolutely. So we offer standard imports for customers, suppliers and part number information. We can also, we call it an electronic bill of material import, whereby if they do have like a BOM structure for an item they make, that can also be imported electronically.
Okay, and if someone wants to get in touch and find out a bit more, how do they get in touch?
Best way would be through our website, which is MIE-Solutions.co.uk. On there is our contact page, our phone number and our email address.
Brilliant, so check it out, you can see that information on the screen right now.